Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Kona 2025 Block of the Month. Uh, we have a few technical problems going on right now, and I say technical because technically they're a problem. It has nothing to do with technology or anything. I got an email today from Amy saying that she's not going to be able to make it. She will be in the chat, but for whatever reason, and those reasons are hers alone, it doesn't matter. She is unable to make it for the Zoom. And also, Julie, she's going to be a little bit late. She was stuck in some pretty bad traffic a couple hours ago. So Julie, hopefully you have made it close to home and all that other stuff. And then finally, David, who normally joins us here, he is actually sitting in my living room right now, but he doesn't have all the full technology to do anything. Mostly he doesn't have a sewing machine here, so he decided against joining. He did say that he may pop in for a little bit, possibly later, as we are doing block reveals, but he also doesn't have his block to reveal, so he probably won't join. And that is perfectly fine because the star of the show is the Kona 2025 block of the month. It's not me, it's not Amy, it's not Julie, it's not David. The star is the block, and that's what we are going to work on. And like I said, if anybody decides to join in while we are sewing, I will let them in. So that would be some pretty awesomeness. But we are working on the block of the month, and I am showing May because my local quilt shop had some supply chain issues where back in May they did not have enough of the kits, the not kits, charm packs. That's what they're called. They didn't have enough of the charm pack to go with all of the blocks that were going to be given out. So instead of some people getting May and some people getting another month, they just said, "Hey, we're just going to give everybody July back in May." So um, we got July and May, and we did that in May. We got June and June, so we did that. And then now we have May and July. It sounds confusing, but we are getting a different month every or different pattern card every month. And because we're not building on things that we learned in the previous month, I don't think it's an issue that we got things out of order. And they don't go in order 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in the quilt. So it doesn't really matter. But I just wanted to give that heads up for anybody who is sewing along and are very confused as to what's going on. If you are looking for July's block, look for May's Live in the Kona 2025 Block of the Month playlist that is here for everybody who is um, looking for that. If you're looking for tips and tricks or see how our blocks came out that month. So let's see what kind of awesome folks we have in the chat. My friend Candace is number one, who says, "Hello, Russ." The Siberian Wind is excited that she got to catch me live. Wow. Well, welcome. Yeah, I do the Kona block of the month the last Sunday of the month at 1 o'clock Eastern. And then I do my normal live on Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. And I think you're on the West Coast. So both of those might be a little bit early for you, or at least the Saturday is a little bit early for you. So welcome. Good morning, Charlotte. And the Siberian Wind says, "Don't forget the thumbs up, y'all." Good afternoon, Colleen, who is working on squaring her half square triangles from yesterday. Good afternoon, Stephen, who says, "Hi, Russ and all, just killing time until we have to leave for the airport." I mean, don't be a little time murderer, but yes. Hey, Amy, who is saying sorry not live with me. The Georgia heat has her zapped. Yeah, it has been very, for lack of a better phrase, miserable out there the past few days. I have been doing some running around with David. I may have spent a couple dollars that I wasn't planning, but it's dollars that eventually would have been spent. And you know how fabric is. If you don't buy it now, you don't necessarily have a chance to get it later. Or if you do need to get it later, you're probably paying a premium. So I will be showing those purchases probably in my weekly vlog on Wednesday. So we will see what ends up coming out of it. The Siberian Wind says she's normally sleeping in too late to catch most of the East Coasters. Oh, I totally get it. I wish I had the ability to sleep in because, I'm always up way too early on days that I don't need to be. And then on days that I want to be up early or that I need to be up early, I don't want to get up. Good morning, Katie Crafts. How are you doing? And I know it's 1 o'clock. I keep saying morning, but there's two reasons behind that. Reason number one is I don't know what time zone most of y'all are in. So, for all I know, you could be in a time zone that is still morning. But the more fun reason for when I say, good morning while I am talking to coworkers in the same room as me is because, and I think I mentioned this several times here, many, many years ago, I spent 13 long, miserable months waiting tables at the Waffle House. And I worked third shift. Well, I preferred to work third shift because the only two shifts that you really make money at Waffle House would be first shift. They generally make the most money, and third shift in areas that have like clubbing and bars and stuff. So the Waffle House that I worked at was basically in the middle of, there's no pleasant way to say this, the strip clubs. So I loved working the third shift because you would get some really interesting people, and I made decent money. But the whole thing was, it was always very difficult to decide, should I be saying good evening to people or should I be saying good morning? Because, I mean, when it came to like the business folks coming in at 6 o'clock, because my shift was over at 7, those were really easy to tell that they were getting up and heading out. But there were some of the folks who, we used to have a 24-hour club, so they were clubbing until like 4, 5, 6 in the morning. And yeah, I just said, I don't know whether to say good morning or good evening, so I just said good morning to everybody while I was out there. So that was always fun. Amy said, if you don't buy it now, you can't improve the beauty of your stash. That is a true statement. Uh, the fabric that I bought is going to be for a block of the month that David found. He found it a couple weeks ago and said, "This looks fun." And when I looked at it, I was like, "I like it, but I don't see how it's a block of the month." And because the initial view of the block looked like it was the exact same block, just repeated over and over again. And a little bit later, he found the videos from the author of the book. And I was like, oh, that's how it's a block of the month. They are different. They're just surrounded by star points. So If you're just glancing like I did, all you see is uh, what looks to be probably the same block over and over again. But if you like look closer, you can tell that it's a different block. So he wants to do it. And I was like, I don't know what fabrics I would do it in. And it's, I'm just going to say, amusing for that because the fabric requirements weren't something like, a quarter yard of this, a half yard of that, and things like that. It was, or is, this number of 12-inch squares. So it's intended to be a scrappy project, but I was like, 12-inch squares, that's not something you can buy from a quilt shop because, what are those things called? Layer cakes are 10-inch squares, and fat quarters are bigger than that. So I was like, I have no idea what I would do. And there was this line of fabric that I saw, which again, I'm going to reveal it later in the week. And I was like, I like these fabrics. I like this idea, but they only had, I think I think they had like 16 or 17 in that line. And then they had a similar line next to it, which had another, uh, about dozen or so prints, some of which I wasn't a fan of. And I was like, wait a second, I can just get a third of a yard of everything, get two 12-inch squares from each of those essentially to do my blocks. And then after that, I'll have a bit of scrap, but it's not going to be a metric ton of scrap. So that's what I did is I bought a whole bunch of fabrics from that and I bought them in 30 yard cuts. And also on top of that, I found more matching fabric at another shop. So I have basically all the fabric that I'm going to need for it. And I'll still have some scraps, but that is perfectly fine. Katie said it's still morning for her, so that's awesome. And same thing for the Siberian wind. Colleen says she's gonna have to remember that one, Amy. Yes, that is a true statement. If you don't buy now, you can't improve the beauty of your stash. Although technically that fabric, I'm not gonna say improves the beauty of my stash, but it definitely increases the holidayness of my stash. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So what I've already worked on over the past few minutes is I'm finishing the last couple half square triangles for this. The awesome thing about the Kona 2025 block of the month is we have the exact same size half square triangles in every single block. So there's not a lot of thinking. I almost wish that I had all the fabric so I could pre-do all of my half square triangles, but we don't get our fabric bundles until uh each month. So I don't have that ability, but you know, I can still work on these. So everything is the exact same cut and the exact same triangle every month. It also means that I can go in and look at the finished quilt because we've seen that it's in the thumbnail. And at some point, I have had the goal of cutting all of the rest of the background pieces because I have all my background fabric. I just don't have the patterns, but I can count how many pieces I need to cut. That's not right. The other hard part is figuring out how to get it laid out because I keep putting things in the wrong orientation, which as long as I catch it, it's fine. Put that one there. This one can go here. This one will go here, and okay. I think I have everything laid out properly. We will see in a second. The Siberian Wind says she is starting a mystery quilt in October. Oh, that sounds fun. How do I say this politely? I've given up on mystery quilts where I have to pick my own fabric. I have done a couple mystery quilts where I have picked my fabric, and even though they tell you you need a light, medium, and a dark, they don't tell you necessarily which one is going to be more focused in some of the blocks. So it becomes like I've done the light, medium, dark stuff, but the fabric selections that I end up picking don't work out well in the way that the blocks are. So if I am doing the fabric selection, I don't want to do the mystery quilts. If somebody else does a fabric selection because they know how the quilt is going to look, I'm game with that because I am fairly certain they are going to be picking fabrics that should go well together. Good afternoon, Ingrid. How are you today? I caught you for a few minutes over on Shannon of Sleigh Arts channel. Y'all look like you were having fun with the what was that called? Slow stitching. Queen of Diamonds, that's what you were doing. The Siberian Wind says she's got 4 shops that will be issuing kits. Info will be available by August 15th. And they've all seen the sample top. Well, that is awesome because, like I said, when I don't know what the finished project is going to be, I get a little concerned. There's this Mystery 50 quilt that is coming out, and part of me wants to do it, but again, I've not seen any of these mystery, like this is their very first one. So I don't even know how it's going to end up or anything else about the project. And I'm like, I really want to try it, but at the same time, I don't want to invest in fabric and invest wrong. But I've seen multiple shops advertising it. And I'm like, you almost got me except for the mystery part. Candace said she doesn't do mystery quilts at all. She'd rather not spend time and money on something she hasn't seen. Too many patterns and fabric to do what I want to do that I don't need to do mystery quilts. Yes, there's that too. Now, I will say the Cotton Cuts puzzle mystery quilts are fun. Uh, they're very easy. Uh, but again, you have people who are experts in the pattern making the decisions. So you're probably going to get something that you like, except for um, the time. Like I've seen, again, it's I like these fabrics, I like this, I like that. But then I've seen the finished project sometimes. I'm like, I would have preferred to have more of fabric A instead of fabric C or something like that. So it still gets annoying sometimes, as awesome as the projects are. And I understand that when I sign up for Saturday samplers at my local quilt shop, most of the time they are still technically a mystery because they will show us the first block or so of the quilt, which means you still don't know what it's going to look like. But I've learned to be able to trust my local quilt shop because I've seen a lot of their projects and they're usually really good with color selection. And I say it that way because something not right here. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. I thought I goofed. And although, let's see, I did not goof. It's just the product of twisting seams. The Siberian Wind says she plans on doing them yearly if this one goes well. Amy says she wouldn't do a mystery block in the month either unless it's a scrap stash buster. Except you as well do the Saturday samplers, but I said, we have a bit more information with Saturday sampler than most people have with mystery block of the months. So I think there's a little bit of a difference. Ingrid says she's making slow process on Clean the Diamonds, but it is slow stitching, so she thinks she's good. I will tell you that Queen of Diamonds quilt, uh, it was it was shown at my local quilt shop, the pattern and that it was going to be a block of the month. And there was a lot of ladies who were like, "Ooh, this is gorgeous," and la 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 la. But when they first found out that it is English paper piecing, there were several people who bowed out. And then when it was announced the price, a lot more people bowed out. So I don't know how many kits they ended up doing, but um, yeah, it's crazy. Next year's mystery quilt for the Siberian one will be scrap friendly. Okay. And Amy says she thinks our local quilt shop does a decent job with Saturday Sampler as well. At least we get a preview and typically a choice of colorway. Yeah. And goes this way. I'm just grabbing chunks off of my design board. He says she loved the Queen of Diamonds quilt, but way too many EPP patterns to justify the money. I'm just thrilled that I know people who are doing it. I will live vicariously through them every step of the way. And these two. Now, all of that said, I do have a few quilts that have a gabillion pieces that are not Art East. The good thing about those is, even though they are a gabillion pieces, they're all the exact same block, so I can just chain piece. So I got to work on figuring out how I'm going to get those chain pieceable. It really means I need to figure out how to get them cut, which probably means a whole bunch of stack and whack, but we'll figure it out. I am putting each of these units together in 4 patches, which allows me to try to spin the seams. Sometimes are more successful than others. This one's not as happy spinning, but it is what it is. It goes here. Oops. So has everybody had an awesome week? I hope so. I think I've mentioned my friend David came into town this week. We gallivanted a bit. I got to network a bit with a few folks, which was awesome. spent money I didn't expect to have to spend, but like I said, the money was going to be spent anyway. So whether I spent it today or January, it's going to have to be spent. And I am in the process of playing Bobbin Chicken. So hopefully we'll see if I win or not. Think I have enough, but I'm not certain. While David was here, he got to play on the long arm. Uh, he mostly knows what he's doing, but I got to give him a few new tips that I had learned in my class 2 weeks ago. And he goes, well, I didn't get taught this. I was like, I didn't get taught this either initially, but this is the way handy culture teaches it. And I like this method and stuff. So, and then some of the stuff he's like, that would save a lot of times. I know. Good morning, Jeannie. And then yesterday was Christmas in July, and I worked on a table runner here on my live. And I've decided that I need to get the long arm loaded, and I want to do some of the custom quilting that I learned about in my class. Because, practicing what you learn is a way to help make sure you retain what you learn. And David is heading back home this afternoon. We may or may not be able to get lunch between when I'm done with the live and when he decides he wants to leave, e.g., when he decides that he needs to leave to make sure he gets in there to the airport in time, because we don't know what Atlanta traffic is on a Sunday. And he also doesn't know how TSA is going to be on a Sunday. And I'm like, you leave whenever you feel comfortable. If we have to skip lunch together, we can do that. Or if it ends up being, we head to McDonald's and grab a burger and then he leaves, then so be it. So it's just that one seam that didn't want to pop in the center. Oh well, that goes there. Then I need to pull this last one off. Amy said she wanted to go to the event yesterday, but couldn't get outside in the heat. We thought about going to the event, but we ended up heading to another shop instead. Okay, I think I like the way this looks. You'll get a preview of it in a minute, but I can sew the rows and columns together now. Here's a question for y'all. Uh, the quilt that David quilted on the long arm is for a friend of his, and she's already in love with it. He's already shown her pictures and everything. But another friend of theirs is jealous that he's not getting a quilt or he doesn't have a quilt yet. So David asked him, "What are your color tastes and everything?" And the response he gave was that he's plain vanilla. What fabrics would you translate that into if somebody just said that their color choices are plain vanilla? Because that leaves a lot of interpretation, and y'all are, as quilters, you're good at figuring out the interpretation of things. So, what do you think they mean? My response was something like Camille Roskelley's Shoreline, or maybe something from Deb Strain. Not Deb Strain. Corey Yoder. I don't know why I said Deb Strain. Uh, so basically something that wasn't overly bright, but not neutrals or anything. Uh, so Mary is saying blues and tans, which is a lot of what I was looking at. I also was thinking about there was that denim and peach line, or denim and something from Fig Tree. I was thinking that. Lizette says neutrals. Shelly says low volume. Oh, I was trying to avoid the idea of like low volumes just because it was for a hymn, and uh you don't know if, they're going to like how they're going to take care of it, because low volumes end up showing off uh as soon as something gets the slightest hint of dirt, it would show it off. And I don't know if they have like a dog or anything else. So that's why I left low volumes out of my head. Lizette says the other thing to do is to observe clothing choices, which I would like to think that David would have been able to do because they are friends. Katie Kraft says show the person pictures of quilts and get opinions and take them to a quilt store or Pinterest. I don't know if David was thinking about doing that. Because that's what I would have ended up doing if it's somebody that I had locally. Don't think the person's local to him either. So uh, taking him to a shop is probably a little bit more difficult. Good morning, Crystal Dragon House of Creations. Rita, how are you? Amy says it could be typical guy colors, maybe a simple 3-yard quilt for the pattern. He did find a pattern from Fat Quarter Shop that they did with Shoreline, which again is one of the lines that I suggested. Because I think later he mentioned something about teal, and Shoreline has a lot of beautiful teals in it. So that was kind of suggested by me as well. But he found a pattern and he goes, I like this pattern. And I looked at it, I was like, oh, so you're gonna do partial seams for him? He goes, it's not partial seams. I was like, yes, it is. So he sends it to me and I pull up the pattern or pull up the video that Fat Quarter Shop did with it. And yes, it's partial seams. Uh, so yeah, I was just like, it is what it is. Uh, I'm debating these seams because it's going to be bad either way. Because if I do it this way, I don't get, I'm going to do it this way. I don't care if I don't get all the seams the way that I really want, but these seams are going to be horrible if I don't do it this way. So, so this seam gets to go this way, and this seam gets to go away it doesn't want to go. It is what it is. I'll have to get the clapper out at it later. Carpenter star goes together quickly. That's another fun pattern to suggest. So this seam goes this way, and then this seam gets to have its craziness happen. And we're on our last two seams. Rita is asking, which one of the Kona block of the months am I doing? This is the 2025 block of the month, which on its face value means absolutely nothing. But or may mean absolutely nothing. But right now we are working on May's block because in May my quilt shop had supply issues. So they could not get, or they did not have all of the May charm packs in stock, so they just gave everybody July in May because they didn't have all the Junes either. And then in June we did June, and then in July we're doing May. I mentioned earlier as well, just so people aren't thinking that I'm going insane and just repeating myself. I am insane, but I don't usually repeat myself. Um, that we are not building each month on the previous month. A lot of block of the months will take techniques and just slowly build on them every month. Every month here, we're doing the exact same size half square triangles, the exact same size background squares and stuff like that. You see that? I lost Bob and Chicken right there. Oh. So, yeah, I was close. I knew I was going to end up losing at some point, but yeah, I lost at a not a happy spot in the scene. I mean, it is what it is. All it is just a couple stitches that I have to redo. But I was really hoping that I got to the very end of the scene. Get in there. Uh, Come on. Start on the line. Um, Rita says, seems to be two of them, so she just wondered. I know they did a 2024 block of the month. Because John from Geistcraft 2, he ordered that from a shop. So I know that one exists. I don't know if there's doing two of them for 2025. Maybe there's one with the calendar and one that's not. It does get confusing if there's two similar things happening at the same time. Thread there, load the bobbin. Make sure stitchy, stitchy, worky, worky. Good afternoon, Joydy. How are you? Joydy, you just missed the excitement of me losing Bob and Chicken by half an inch. But I'm now straightened out. Siberian one says she was playing Thread Chicken the other day and lost Bob and Chicken and didn't know she was playing. I normally don't pay too much attention as to whether or not I'm playing bobbin chicken. I do have a clear bobbin cover, so I can see when I'm getting low. Machine is supposed to yell at me when I'm running low on bobbin, and it didn't. I would have done the same thing and just said, "Hey, let's see how far I can get to the end of the seam." So I wouldn't have done anything different if the machine had yelled at me. So I'm not that quote unquote upset with the machine. It must be on strike. Yes. I mean, it did have a spa day like 2 months ago, came back from spa day, or I'm sorry, it was a spa fortnight. So let's see. Y'all, you want to go this way. So this seam is going to go this way. You want to go that way. So the rest of the seam is going to go this way. I don't care how much you're upset with it. Like I said, I will throw this thing underneath the clapper probably for a couple hours. Yes, I know it only needs 5 minutes, but if there's anything I've learned from Ronco, set it and forget it. Push you open, bring you over here. All this to try to minimize these two chunky seams. Spa day. I think mine decided to take a mental health vacation. Rita says the ones she is looking into are both made by Elise Leah, two completely different ones, and that's why she wondered. Mine's the official Kona one, so that's why it would be a completely different one than what you're looking at. Da, 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 da. Candace says her long arm tells her, but she rarely hears it over the noise. Yeah, mine goes bang, which David didn't hear the thread break the other day over the noise. Put it in timeout. If 5 minutes is good, 2 hours is fantastic. Yes, that's what I'm going to say. And this is my block, which looks really awesome when I see it in the picture view. When I look at it facing me, I'm like, does it work? Does it not work? Because when you're close to a block, you don't always see how well it works. But looking at it this way, I'm like, this works really, really nice. So Like I said, I'm gonna use the clapper, get it a little bit flatter. Probably won't use the clapper until it's closer to putting it together time. I'll let the seams relax for a little bit and decide what they want to do because I have to show it to pick up my next block next month and figure out how that's going to do. So I'll just leave it a little bit chunky and I will take all of the seams as December and January approach and do what I can to um, put them in their place. The acorn pressing system, the pen, which I have yet another one now, it is awesome for that. It's just a starch alternative, and I just put it on the seam. I did not starch any of these fabrics, so putting best press on it will cause it to shrink a little bit. So I'm gonna just do the acorn seam on the seams to get everything to go, and um, everything will be happy in a couple weeks or a couple months because we are officially more than halfway through with this block of the month. Or, okay, we're technically approximately halfway because technically I think it's no, we are now more than halfway because there's 13 months in it, 12 months of blocks, and then 1 month of finishing. So that's consists of 13 months, and we're at 7. So we are beyond the halfway point. That is very exciting. Ingrid says she's not a Brown fan, but seeing that block put together, I like it. That was what they said at the quilt shop. They're like, I'm sorry, it's browns. And I'm like, browns are color too. We have to have it. So uh, I really like those shades that we got, and I'm going to be excited when this is done. But I think that I am going to end this video. Like I said, Dave and I got to figure out if we're going to grab lunch real quick or not. So we will see that. I will make David show his block next month, if y'all remind me. And I guess we'll try to get Amy and Julie to show their blocks from this month, next month as well. And then, yeah, we will be back in the swing of things the last Saturday in August. See you later. Toodles.